Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Saturday morning mini class. I found a really cute little mechanism that I want to share with you today. And the lady who designed it, she called this a floating gatefold. I think I changed the title on my little invitation. I changed it to it has a pop-up surprise. But we've made similar things to this in the past, but it's a matter of now we are going to combine a couple of formats into one card. And so this is just hopefully to give you some inspiration and ideas that if you've got a couple of different formats that you like, you can always mix and match and put them together. It may take a little bit of math and a little bit of sketching out, and I've got all my measurements kind of written down here, but you can always mix and match those ideas. So thank you for joining me this morning. If you are watching live, please remember to mute your microphone, but always feel free to unmute and ask questions as we go along. I'll make sure the chat is open as well. If you're watching on replay, just pause and rewind. And if you have any questions, you can email me at customerservice@craftersworkshop.ca. All right, so we are going to get started. And this is combining both a gatefold, which is a card that folds on either side and meets in the middle, with a double pop-up mechanism. And all that means is we're going to do a pop-up mechanism on the top and on the bottom on the inside. So let's just get started with our card base. This piece is 5.5 by 8.5, which is what you would typically cut for any A2 size card base. But I asked you not to score it in the instructions because we're going to score it together just to make sure that we get that fold in to meet in the center as opposed to the fold that goes down the middle. So I'm just going to grab my scoreboard here. I'm going to put this 5.5 by 8.5 piece of cardstock in the middle. You can use any color. You can use white. You can use whatever you want and decorate it up and bling it up as we go along. But I've got this one that's got a nice weight to it so it can withstand all the playing because it's going to be so much fun. So the first score line we are going to make is from the left side. We are going to make 2 1/8. So just that little bit past the 2-inch mark, we're going to score. And as always, I like to start light and then build up that score line so I don't punch my tool through my paper. I don't know if I can see it very well here on the camera. I've got some shadow happening. There we go. There you can see it there at 2 1/8. Now, I've said this before, I'm not a math person, so if you are a math person, you can go 2 1/8 from this right-hand side. I'm simply going to rotate it all the way around and do 2 1/8 again. Whatever you do, you just want to make sure that it's even on both sides. So if you were making a different size card, whether it's smaller or square, with a gatefold, you simply just want to have these fold in. So what I would do is I would take my 4 1/4, which would be the halfway mark, and then just divide it in half. So say, for example, you were doing your piece of paper was 12 inches, 6 would be your half, your score line would be at 3. And that way, this is all going to fold in really nicely and meet in the center. And so we've got our gatefold card. And we could just decorate this up and use this as a fun little interactive card, just as a gatefold. You could even do it up and down if you wanted to, but we're going to add a little bit more to that. So while we have our scoreboards out, let's do those final, do the score marks on our mechanism pieces as well. And those pieces are you've got 2 pieces that are 1 inch by 5 1/4. So we're going to do the first one first, and then we're going to repeat the exact same thing for the second one. Because we're doing 2 mechanisms on the inside, that's why it's 1 inch wide. If you like this mechanism, but just wanted to do it once, I would suggest making this a little bit wider, just so that if you put a bigger call out on it, it'll hold the weight a little bit more. But we're just going to do little ones today. So let's start with our 1 by 5 1/4. We're going to put it in at the 1/2 inch mark, or sorry, not at the 1/2 inch mark, at the horizontal direction. Wow. My brain needs to catch up this morning. All right, so it's in horizontal. We're going to score it at 1 inch. We're going to score it at 2 inches. And we're going to score it at 4 1/4. And again, if you are doing this on your own and you want to adjust your measurements, ultimately you want the spacing to be the same for all 3 of these little squares. So say you had a bigger piece and you wanted to go 1 1/4 inch, then you would make sure this was 1 1/4 inch, this was 1 1/4 inch, and this piece is 1 1/4 inch. As long as those 3 are even, then you will be good to go for your mechanism. And that'll make a lot more sense once we actually start building it. So just to remember, this was 1 inch wide by 5 1/4. We scored at 1, 2, and 4 1/4. Let's do the same thing here for our second one. We're going to score at 1. We're going to score another 1, so at 2 inches. And then we're going to score 1 inch from that right hand end, which is 4 1/4. All right, so that's all the scoring that we are going to do today. All right, I'm going to put my scoreboard away. Handy dandy little shelf. Let's do a little bit of decorating before we do our mechanism, just because what we want this mechanism to be on top of the decorating on the inside. So let's just start with the inside. So I have a piece here of pattern paper. I think I may have asked you to do solid cardstock. You could do either or. It's really just decorating. Probably what I will do in the long run is put a smaller piece of white in here to write on it. But this piece is 4 by 5 1/4. And it's just going to nest inside that opening. And I need tape. When you're working on stuff, adhesive is always a good thing. So I'm just going to use my tape runner and I'm going to attach this to the inside of my card with just a little bit of a border all the way around. And that is good to go. We're now going to go ahead and attach our mechanisms. So one is going to go up here in kind of that top left-hand corner. The other one's going to go down here in the bottom right-hand corner. Let's start with the top left to get started. So go ahead and fold along these score lines. And if we have it the way that we scored it, we've got 2 little squares on the left and 1 square on the right. For this first one, we're actually going to flip that around. So you want 1 square on the left, a larger area, and then 2 little squares on the right. And I'm just going to play with it. Yeah, okay. So the only places we are going to put tape is on the 2 outside squares, the left square and the right square. I'm going to use Scortape because I want it to have a good solid hold. But
are they mountain or valley folds, Sheri?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got the mountain on the inside. But as long as you've got a nice crisp fold, this is gonna move. So I actually end up usually folding them both ways just to get them loose. And then it'll be nice and smooth when we go to fold it flat. Okay, so like I said, I am going to be using Scortape on my 2 end pieces. If you are uncertain and you want to practice, you can just use your regular tape runner at this point in case you want to lift it up and reposition it as needed. But I'm pretty confident, so I'm going to go right ahead with my Scortape and just put a little bit on each end. So on this single square, I've got some tape, and on the right-hand square. So that middle square will not have tape, and the larger section will not have tape. As with any interactive card, the real key is where you put the tape and where you don't. Okay, so I've got my strip repositioned again, where I've got my 2 squares on my right and my single square on my left. I'm going to start with the left-hand square. And just to show you where it goes before I stick it down, this outside edge is going to go right along the fold, face down. And maybe I should have done this in different color so that you can see it better, but it's going to go right against the fold, face down. So it's going to flap over like that. All good with that? Makes sense? I see some nodding heads, so that's good. Okay, I'm going to peel up my tape. Come on. There we go. Okay, so once again, at the risk of sounding repetitive, it's the single square, face down, outside edge, against the wall. And I'm going to put it about an inch down. So right against the fold there. Not quite straight. Can I get it up? There we go. So now your card should look like this. Excuse me, I'm just going to try turning this light here. See if that helps us a little bit. So you've got this big tail hanging out the left-hand side. You're now going to fold so that both squares come to the inside. And I'm just, yeah, that's correct. So both squares come to the inside and it's flat against this piece. And maybe just watch while I do it first, and then you can do it. I will repeat it, and we've got the second one to practice with. Okay, along this, no. We're now going to fold the entire card with this still flat. And now that's going to stick down like so. So you should only have 1 little inch showing out here. And then when you open it up again, there is our little pop-up. The key to doing a lot of these pop-up cards is remembering and assembling your card as if it was going to be flat, because then everything will line up properly. And then when you open it, that pop-up mechanism will take over. Just give you ladies a minute to make sure that that's working for you, and we will get practice with doing the second one, which will be exactly the same, just in the opposite direction. Are we all good? Thumbs up. Excellent. Nodding heads. Phenomenal. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same thing to our piece on the bottom. Like I said, just in the opposite direction. So in this case, we're going back to the way it was originally with 2 scored squares on the left and 1 on the right. And I'm just going to fold along those score lines, get them nice and loose. And then I'm going to put Scortape only on those 2 outside squares, not the middle square, not the middle large section. And that is assuming, there it is, I can find my Scortape. It's getting low, so it had fallen down in my bucket here. Okay. So a little bit of score tape on the single square. And a little bit of score tape on the far outside square on the other end. Okay, 2 squares on the left, 1 square on the right. Peel the back of your tape from the square on the right. Flip it left to right, face down. Outside edge along the score line on the flap side, about 1 inch up. And press it down. So that tail is now on your right side flap against that fold. We're now going to fold the 2 squares in so that it's flat on itself. Peel up our backing. And we're going to fold the entire flap. So you probably want to try and open up your left-hand side just so you have room to move. That entire right-hand card flap is going to go over and down on your base. Give it a good rub, and there you go. So now you should have 2 little boxes inside your card. And guess what? That's the hard part. That is the hard part all done. And like I said, you could take the same mechanism, maybe just scooch it into the center and do a single one. If you wanted to do them smaller and do 3, you could absolutely do that. That would be kind of fun if you had a Gatefold slimline card. You could do a whole bunch of little pop-ups running down the card. Could you do this on a scrapbook layout? It might take a little bit of engineering. So either that you're going to be pulling something out and opening it up, or you could make this little box and the flap on the outside of your page protector. Or if you're doing a mini album, you could absolutely do this in a mini album as well. So once, I try to always find ideas that you can use for card making as well as your memory keeping and your layouts. It may just take, a couple of extra minutes of noodling to figure out exactly how it's going to work, but the foundation is there. All right, so all we need to do now is decorate. So on the inside, we have these 2 little panels here, and I believe I had you cut some 2 1/4 inch squares. Those are just going to attach right to those pop-up mechanisms. But let's go ahead and put our pattern paper or our decorative pieces on there as well. Let me move this out of the way. I actually brought some circles, so I'm going to pop a circle on here, a stitched circle. We were busy prepping for our Naked Lawn Fawn class that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And by cutting the magic iris die, I have tons and tons of these stitched little circles left over. So it's perfect for card making and my stash. And I think I'm going to take some of these tags and just punch out a smaller circle to go on top of it. Or do I want to, maybe I'll do these guys. What else do I have in my little stash here? Oh, I've got some extra ones here. Oh, maybe I'll get the happy birthday out of this one so that this can be a birthday card. Oh, can I get the bee? Can I get the bee? Just. So that can just nest inside there. And what else can I put on here? Maybe I will just cut out this tag and just do the flowers. And this is always the fun part, is decorating it up. And I'm using scraps that, you'll recognize this paper. It's the Cartabella Summer line. We've used it before in a few other classes, but it is just so pretty and cheerful. How can we not use it? So there, those are just going to go on there like so. I think I'll use, with circles, I tend to like to use a liquid glue just so I can get all around where it needs to go. Come on. Yep, okay, that one's clogged. Option number 2. I'll just get a little paper towel with some warm water on that after we're done here. And this one's working excellent. So that's gonna go on this circle, whoops. And then onto my square. And if I had brought my 2 1/4 inch circle punch today, I could have punched that as a circle, but I kind of like it being a square to fit on our little pop-up tab. And that just kind of gives it a little bit of a vignette kind of look. And then happy birthday. Okay. And so you know how I said that I might put a piece of white in here to write on? With these pop-ups, there's actually not a lot of room to write. So I've got these little panels here that I could write on. Or if you were, you know, super smart and planned ahead, you could have left one of these plain and just put your little message on the little pop-up. But my message will just be happy birthday, and I am good with that. So to attach these to your mechanism, this is where, again, I'm going to use Scortape just because I'm hoping that it gets lots of being played with and I want these things to stick. So I'm simply going to put one strip of Scortape just on that flat section on both sides. Make sure they hold. And I'm going to center it. So that will go kind of like so. Just make sure that you're still inside your card. And this should still, yeah, you've got lots of room there. Put my flowers up here inside the card, inside my folds. And there you go. So that is the inside. For these outside panels, I have cut 2 pieces of pattern paper. Let's see if there we go. These are 2 inches by 5 3/8. So that should fit just nicely in those panels. I'm just going to tape these guys down. So our front is all lined up, and in the homework, I instructed you to cut a piece of cardstock that was 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 with the idea that we would put a 3 by 4 cut apart on here. But here's where so if you've got that already ready to go, perfect. You can attach your cut apart to your cardstock and then just hold there, and I'll talk you through how to attach it to the card. I actually don't have any 3 by 4 cut aparts left. I could do that, but then I'd get the words in the way, but I could cover that up. Or I think I am going to just use another tag. Maybe this one here that says happy for you. And I'm going to pick the flower one as well and just kind of do a layered treatment. And this is actually not my 3x4, so that's why it was. So I've just trimmed my cardstock down just a smidge to 3x4, so it would be the same size as your cut apart. And I'm going to fussy cut out these two tags. And yeah, we'll just stay with those two. So let me, and with this one, because it's got that blue background already, I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap so it looks like it's got a blue outline. Fussy cut, fussy cut. This is my kind of fussy cutting, with fairly straight lines to follow. Not too difficult. And this one is perfect straight lines. So I could even have used my trimmer. Okay, and I'm going to layer these just like so on my 3x4 card. That's pretty. I could have used that side as well, but this one ties it in with the flowers that are on the inside. Let me just grab some little foam squares for this guy. And one in the center. So this is now all ready to go. And just like on the inside, the key to this little sentiment layer on the front is where we put the tape and where we don't. Make sure you're only putting glue on this left-hand side on the back so that it'll sit on that left-hand panel. And then when it opens up, it will go with that panel. If you stick it all the way down, nobody will see your pop-ups because you won't be able to open the card. I think I'll just use Scortape. And again, so I want it on the left-hand side. I'm going to fold it towards me. Not fold it, flip it. And just along that outside edge and just maybe an inch along from that because we don't want it to cross the center. All right, making sure I'm not flipping it or moving it just yet. Now, I'm going to take this, flip it back, and I'm just centering it top to bottom and left to right. I want it nice in the center here. And then when they go like this, ta-da, there is that little pop-up. So really cute, and you could go then go in and add gems or any little embellishments that you want. I've just got some gold sparklies here. So let's put a gem here and up here and another little one just kind of over here. Just add some sparkle, and you could put some sparkles on your little mechanisms here too. Just be careful because you do want this card to lay flat so that it can go through the mail. If you put too much dimensional stuff on these guys, it's just going to add more bulk. So if you want to add dimensional stuff, I would say do it on the front, not necessarily on the inside, so that it lays flat to fit in your envelope. So there is our gatefold with double pop-up surprise card. And don't forget, we love to see what you have made either here in class or using this template. So make sure you go and share it in our Paper Crafts Inner Circle or email it to me. And that is it for our first Saturday morning Zoom class in July. I wish you all a fantastic day.